Hi, my name is Jared Michael, and I am a demo artist working for Interware Australia, supporting Foundry products. In this video, we're going to take a look at the new features and enhancements made to the Foundry's NUKE 10. In this presentation, I'll first talk about where NUKE has been, where it currently is at, and future plans. I will also talk about NUKE Studio and recap the features, before I move on to NUKE 10 and talk about the enhancements and new features that have been added. Finally, after talking about this, we're going to jump into a live demo and see some of these features in action. The previous version of NUKE, NUKE 9, was a response from the community asking for further reliability and stability. The response from the Foundry was to rewrite a number of core areas under the hood to address these performance issues. In addition to this, NUKE Studio was launched, allowing a single software package to manage a variety of tasks from compositing, managing compositing at a timeline level, editing, conforming, and finishing. The response from NUKE 9 from the community was a request for more refinement, reliability, and performance across all areas. And whilst addressing these concerns, a number of time-saving new features were also added to the release of NUKE 10. Before we talk about NUKE 10 and the changes made to NUKE and NUKE Studio, I'm just going to take a minute to recap what NUKE Studio is for those of you who haven't used it. In effect, it is a node-based VFX finishing suite. It allows you to conform, edit, grade, playback in real time, but it also contains all of the functionality of NUKEX, whilst also allowing compositing to be managed at a timeline level. NUKE Studio is effectively a hybrid between Hero and NUKEX, providing a timeline environment with standard editing functions that you're familiar with from other packages such as Razor, Slip, Slide, etc. It has the standard NUKE viewer that allows you to A, B, stack, wipe. It has track blending that respects alpha embedded in a channel, as well as the ability to very intelligently cache depending on the direction you are playing to provide real-time playback, whilst having the same localization system that is in NUKE and NUKEX. NUKE Studio has a robust conforming system that allows you the flexibility to either fully edit in NUKE Studio or for you to import from another editing package using an EDL, XML, AAF. You can import an offline as a reference layer so you can check that everything is lining up before conforming to your full online footage using the match media function. This allows you to specify a general folder or location on your network to search for the raw files, and you can also exclude file types from being searched for. One of the most powerful features of NUKE Studio is the ability to create comp containers, represented here in the top right image, a series of green shots. This allows you to double-click and enter and exit a NUKE script very quickly and easily. The intelligent background rendering allows you to hit render and allow that process to go in the background without stopping you from working. A progress bar lets you know the status of the render, and you can preview this wherever that render is up to. NUKE 10 has excellent collaboration tools, such as the tagging system that allows work to be allocated, the status of each shot to be marked, such as ready to begin, complete, or requiring a certain type of work, such as green screen, or marking it for a particular artist. And all of these tags can be customized with Python. The annotation system, seen here in the bottom right, allows artists to be briefed visually, as well as to provide feedback on things to change. One of the most powerful features of NUKE Studio is the export structures. This allows folder hierarchy to be set up for an entire project, as well as naming conventions for folders, NUKE scripts, and the output of all type of files. All of these features will render locally or on a frame server. There are also a number of time-saving tools, such as the ability to sequentially rename shots based on their order in the timeline, as well as the ability to copy cuts across all tracks on the timeline. Now let's move on to talk about NUKE 10. The focus has been on performance, feature improvements, and bug fixes across a few key areas. Through feedback with the community, there were a number of workflow fixes. Rotopaint was one of the nodes identified for a number of bug fixes, and across the NUKE Studio range, the UI stability has gone up dramatically, as well as playback performance on the timeline, the ability to handle large projects, and the speed and stability of transcoding and exporting. Further enhancements to NUKE Studio include refined editorial and conform tools, such as audio scrubbing, as well as a series of new soft effects, Specifically, ColorCorrect was added, where in the past only the grade node was accessible on the timeline, opening up the opportunities for further creative color correction. Another new soft effect added to NUKE Studio is a blink script node. This allows GPU-accelerated nodes to be written specifically for working on the NUKE Studio timeline. An example of this is the new chroma keyer soft effect. This is a blink script created node written to work in real time whilst keying on the timeline. This is perfect for rapid look development so that the background can be inserted quickly, potentially with a client there, to get approval before the final compositing happens in the node graph. This opens up opportunities for either the community or for third-party developers to come in and write more GPU-accelerated real-time soft effects to enhance the capabilities of NUKE Studio. A brand new feature of NUKE 10 is the Ray Render node. This is a true ray trace renderer with scanline output. It is effectively a replacement for the old scanline renderer in almost all circumstances. It has a lower memory footprint, allowing for more complex scenes with higher fidelity output. This new node offers higher quality motion blur and shadows, and at the same time now has a really nice reflection render as well as ambient occlusion, as well as being faster at processing spherical projection. On top of all of this, it has improved supersampling, resulting in better anti-aliasing. To be clear, this is not a standalone renderer such as V-Ray for NUKE, where you could do all of your traditional shaders, lighting, and rendering. The purpose of this is more to create a few additional passes, where in the past you might have to go back to the 3D department. Comp now has the ability to create better ambient occlusion and better reflection for pushing the image slightly further. This would definitely be useful in areas such as matte painting, where ambient occlusion in a 2.5D set extension may be required, as well as reflections, for example, the windows of a city building. The localization system in NUKE, NUKEX, and NUKE Studio has also been revised. This is now uniform between the applications, and it is executable as a background process, only using some of your cores, so as to not stop you working. The new localization system allows you to pause, refresh, or force direct sourcing from the network of your footage, as well as giving you a progress bar informing you of the status of the localization. In NUKE 10, the Rotopaint has had quite an overhaul, starting with a number of bug fixes which have been logged in the latest release notes. This is quite comprehensive and goes quite a long time back in terms of bug fixes and workflow problems. In addition to this, the number of strokes that is possible per node before having any sort of delay or slowdown in performance has been dramatically increased. In the past, around 200 strokes per node was the upper limit before having to split into multiple Rotopaint nodes to avoid delays or performance issues. Now, it's possible to have a very large number of strokes per node without having any performance issues. In addition to this, during regular Rotopaint, the response time between clicking and putting a stroke down has been improved, offering a more interactive experience. One of the new features in NUKE 10 is the Smart Paint toolset. This analyzes the motion in a plate to generate a new type of vector. With this, paint patches can be deformed across a surface to match the original animation in the plate. The bottom right image is an example of the Smart Paint toolset being used. The shirt blowing in the wind creates quite complex motion, and to manually warp this by hand with spline warp or other technique would require quite a long period of time for the artist. With the Smart Paint toolset, vectors can be generated of the original VOR plate and then used to deform a single frame, deforming the paint patch across a surface, requiring no further manual work. There are also a number of other enhancements and additions to NUKE 10. There is a new vector blur algorithm called Vector Blur 2, which is now GPU accelerated, delivering a noticeable increase in performance in the node graph. There have been a number of improvements to the color pipeline tools, including the integration of ACEs as well as OpenColorIOro. Performance increases to the transcoding system mean that now writing out media, such as DPX, EXR, and QuickTime files, is now faster, taking less time to write out dailies, artist review, the final output, or simply transcoding from one format to another. There is now more support for a broader range of different GPUs, including AMD for MacBook Pros, and now there is support for use of multiple GPUs in one computer. As a response from clients asking for clarification about hardware requirements, The Foundry now includes hardware requirements and recommended suggestions for hardware in all of the new release notes for each software package.